Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Hi, Bonolo. Hi, Sunshine. How are you doing?
Hi,
Good,
Preetesh.
good.
Hey,
Amazing.
Bonolo.
Hi, Sunshine.
Preetesh, you can leave now. We're fine here.
Yeah, we go.
Okay, there we go.
Good.
If you say goodbye,
Nice to meet you
no,
guys.
I'm not going away that quickly. Oh, thank you so much to both of you for joining us. And also thank you to everyone that's joining us on Zoom and also to everyone who's joining us on Facebook. So as everyone on Facebook knows, we'd love to have you to be part of the conversation. But obviously, as we sit here on Zoom, we can't see your comments and we can't see anything that you're saying on that side. So I'm assisted by Clocky today from the Loeries, who'll be able to pick up any comments or anything that you're actually saying on Facebook. So remember, with those of us on Zoom, if you have any comments or questions, please use the Q&A and chat function on this. It's pretty standard and I think everyone's used it. But if you're on Facebook, share it on that side and we'll have Clocky who will actually pass it on to us. Also really, really important to everyone who's out there. And it seems like we're just speaking about this because time is flying. Loeries entries close next week on the 15th of June. So time's flying. There's very, very little time left. So please get your entries in. If you do need any assistance, you remember, mail info@loeries.com and the Loeries team will be able to get back to you and assist you in any way in terms of your entries. But I think what's really, really important today is to have a chat to these two amazing women who've done such amazing work and tell us a little bit more about themselves. So I'm not going to hog any more of the conversation. So maybe let's start with Bonolo, since Bonolo, you're closest on my screen on the side. So Bonolo Helen Chepape is the creative director and founder of Lulasclan. And then we're also joined by Sunshine Shibambo, who's the creative director and owner of Cheri Yase Kasi. And I'd love to find out more about your journeys, your creative experiences. And since I said Bonolo's on the closest side to me, on this side, on the left-hand side, Bonolo, didn't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, please?
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, I'm Bonolo Chepape, and I'm from a small mining town in Rustenburg in the Northwest. I stumbled upon graphic design. I studied BA in graphic design in Midrand. And from then, I worked in an advertising agency, a small advertising agency. It was called Penguin Group, where I learned immensely. And then I then later moved on to Metropolitan Republic, and then my beloved Sunshine Gun. And that's where I was learning. I was asking questions. I was just behind every mentor, and I also discovered the world of textile design. Funny enough, it was through different briefs that I would get briefed on. Maybe it would involve like internal branding for a magazine or whatever. And for me, I just developed a love for branding and bringing that branding into an interior space. But I also realized the power of how textile designs can also communicate or further enhance a branding experience. And that's when I started developing my business, Lulasclan, based just on the pure love of design and appreciation for culture and celebrating heritage. I had stacks of illustrations just sitting, and I was like, you know what? I need to create my own future. I need to build something not only for myself, but for those that, that are coming after me. Just be a reference point for where I come from, because not even my parents still know. They don't know what I'm doing. They just know that I draw. That's all. So there's like a huge barrier to educate people in terms of different areas of design, different areas of creativity. And I saw this as an outlet to just speak my own personal story, to be a custodian of my culture and just every culture that I'm drawn towards or inspired from. So this is just a library of designs that really I'm trying to tell my own story of my love for culture and heritage and how it's important to preserve it, especially as the world is moving and changing and it's getting closer. We can easily lose ourselves in other identities that we adopt. So yeah, that's to sum up what I do. Yeah.
That's an awesome summary. That's really great. But I think there's so much more we need to deep dive into and understand, and we'll come to that. But first, I'm going to give Sunshine an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself and tell us who you are, please.
Thank you very much for having me, and hi to everyone on Facebook. This is exciting. I always love having panel discussions like this, especially someone as young and innovative as Bonolo. My name is Sunshine. I come from a little township in Soweto called Mfulo, which is really not known for a lot of things outside of Mirimakeba coming from that neighborhood. I had a typical kind of all-girls school, and I fell in love with art and drawing and creating from a very young age. I went to AAA School of Design, at the time convinced I'm going to live in this beautiful bad world of advertising, and studied art direction and marketing communications. I think going into advertising, coming straight out of university, I realized that I also wanted to be on the other side of client and understand how that world works to make my world a bit easier. So I actually opted out and I went into marketing and corporate. I moved into a broadcaster. I started working with an incredible department that allowed me to use my creativity to develop kind of special projects, which is now known as experiential. So we would produce for this specific broadcaster, who I don't want to mention on here. And we started producing events and concepts nationally. So I fell in love with campaign work from that point of view, being able to kind of take what's happening on television and take it to the ground, to the people. So my career really started on that side of things in broadcasting. Because I'd come from an advertising background with AAA, it did give me the flexibility to look and go into other spaces as well. Like Bonolo, I got into jobs to learn. I wanted to understand how the machine works or the engine works, because I knew that's the only way I could understand it. Outside of being this creative, I needed to understand the world of entertainment or media or advertising. And so I moved from the SABC and I pursued my career in fashion, and I moved to Media 24, where I was an intern at 27. I think what I've always put forward is I'm always up for new change and trying new things. And I've never set the limit to be my age. So it allowed me to move into many different spaces. For Media 24, I managed talent. Again, another creative way of working with the entertainment industry. And then I was poached by SAB, who brought me on board first as events, and then I moved into brand marketing. And just through those up and downs, the inspiration to start the business came about, and to be able to fill in the gaps that I was seeing through all these engines that I'd gone through, where I noticed the gap. I wanted my business or my offering, my service, to be able to fill those gaps and to be able to speak to this Black consumer in an authentic way. So I kind of fell into it because of the gaps. My plan was never to go into business. Now that I'm in business, I'm like, what was I thinking? But yeah, that's my story. And it's become this kind of, it's always so hard to define what it is we do, because it's being built from coming from so many different places. So we're not a traditional advertising agency, we're not traditional PR, we're not traditional experiential. What we've noted clients love and need, but it's, the traditional ways of advertising kind of set how we work. Clients are looking for a bit more flexibility, turnaround, and we've created these kind of new ways of workings in what we do as a business. And if it means pulling in partners, someone like Abunolo, I met on a client brief. We become the conductor in this choir, and we bring in the soloists who can bring our idea to life. And that's what we've been able to do the last 6 years that we've been running Cheri Yase Kasi.
Amazing. It made me chuckle when you when you spoke about getting to business and not showing why I did this. Because I think everyone who gets into business has that moment go like, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting. and you get in and go, oh my God, am I gonna be able to eat today? Because it's so
Yeah.
difficult. And everyone's been to that. So so why get into it? And maybe Sunshine, since you brought it up, I'm gonna start with you before moving on to Bonolo again. But I mean, what made you? Let's be honest. It's as much as we may have challenges in our corporate jobs or regular kind of agency lifestyle jobs, it's
Yeah.
still safe. You get a guaranteed salary at the end of the month.
And
Why
medical
give that
aid.
up? Yes, and medical aid. Why give that up? Why did you give up your medical aid? Tell us.
I think I'll speak only just, from my point of view. I had gotten to a point where I had kind of ticked off my wish list of corporates that I'd wanted to learn from or understand how they work. And seeing those gaps gave me in fact, the courage to make that decision that I can fill those gaps, because I'd been in this machine so long and I'd seen these gaps for so long. So before I left my job, I consulted with my mentor at the time, and who was in the business that I was in. And I said to him, it's so frustrating being here. Things, they don't want to work like this. They don't want to do this. And he said to me, this place is never going to change. So you have one of two choices: you adapt and you comply to how this kind of plays out, or you go out there and you change the way things work. And for some brave reason, I heard that clearer than the first kind of stay in it. And I just took that leap of faith. I knew that he knew that there was this opportunity for me, and I was the right person to kind of fill these gaps. So Neil French, if he's listening and watching, was a big kind of deciding factor for me to make that choice. And that's the only reason I went in. So initially it was just to consult. It was just going to be me. But apparently it's not a business if it's just you. And
No.
so in order for it to become a business, from it growing from me consulting with different production houses or agencies, I then was asked to start building a team. And now there's a bit more work. And what started as 50K is now 100K, is now 150K. So obviously, the more money you keep receiving, the more deliverables you have. And if there's just one you, it's almost impossible to push it all out. So you're forced to kind of upscale and become a business, which means humans. And the beauty of this business thing, which is actually managing everything else, but why you initially went into business, which is, for me, was to create. Now it is my job to teach others how to create at the standard that I've built, number one, but also at the way I know which my clients work. They have a certain standard. My job is to teach whoever I bring into my business that standard. And then we can operate as a business and service many more people. So yeah, I don't really have an answer for why I fell into it, but it was kind of all the right things falling into the right place at the right time. I had reached my ceiling in having been in the broadcast, that being direct with entertainment, working directly with celebrities or brands, and then into one of the biggest alcohol companies in the country. I just felt there was kind of no more. I didn't want to go into banking. I didn't want to go into technology. So that was it in terms of the industry that I wanted to be clear on. So that created that opening for me.
Amazing. And Bonolo, your journey. Why did you give up the guaranteed
Um,
salary and the
I'm
safe?
alive.
Why did you give up the comfortable life stress and be a business owner?
So for me, my journey was quite interesting because I had just landed my dream job, and then now you want to leave that
Yeah.
to struggle. But I had landed my dream job at a dream agency. Sunshine is amazing, beautiful culture, beautiful creative work, and I could see growth within that space. But when there is a void, there is a void. When there is that creative yearning that I know that the space can only handle me for a couple of years, but I'm gonna be bored, or my soul spirit yearns for something greater. There's something more I need to do with my life. I took that call as well with a creative director that was also my mentor, Christine Raftopolis. And she was like, you've got nothing to lose, but everything to gain. And if it fails, you're still young, you can come back to the industry. And that was kind of the mindset. I was like, okay, rather do it now than later. I took the plunge. I was so heartbroken. I built a family in that agency, but I was like, this, I'm certain that it's something that I have to do. I downgraded everything, no medical aid, no nothing. Went back home to Rustenburg, but it was just a pure yearning to really. I think the beauty about running maybe your own creative studio is that you get to handle different briefs. You get to be on different briefs every single day. So every day is different. You get to meet different people. It challenges you to get out of your comfort zone. So there is no time to sit still and just say, I'm just an illustrator or I'm just a textile designer. You have to delve into whatever the client requires. You learn that skill and you keep it moving. You just express yourself. You find various avenues to express yourself. So I guess that's where my consultancy kind of studio started, where I saw the joy of also just challenging how I think COVID has taught us that now, challenging how traditional business is run, where you have to get a lot of people in, employ 100 people. No, for me, it's like if there's a specific project, call different people together who have the skill set and the talent to do it, and then it's okay to dissolve. And you know that you know a strategist, you know a web designer, you know whoever. So it's allowed me to form different teams all the time, but also build very meaningful connections with the clients that I do have. So that's my reason, that I just wanted a platform to express myself differently every single day, because I get very bored easily. So yeah.
Having your own business is a great cure for getting bored, because there's no time to get bored.
There's no time to be overthinking. Yeah.
The other fascinating thing that I always find, when people decide to start their own businesses, one of the things that strange enough takes a lot of time, and it should, is what is this business going to be named? Because obviously it's like naming a baby, right? Once you name it, you're stuck with this name. And sometimes there's certain people who feel passionately about certain business names, and others are like, wait, I need to think about it and I'll go through 10 names before I can settle it. So I'm always curious in terms of your business names, and Sunshine, maybe starting with you, like, did you go through the 10 names before you settled on your business name and Cheri Yase Kasi, or was this like, I know exactly what this is, it is, and the identity exists, and I just need to put it into place?
No, for me, it was actually going to be called Pocket of Sunshine first. And I had a little battle of conscience, like, do I actually want people to call this business my name the whole time? What if I leave the business? Is it still Pocket of Sunshine? And so it operated as that for a few months until a friend who used to tease me and call me Cheri Yase Kasi. My friends think I'm the snob, but because I'm from the township, they always kind of remind me with these jabs on, you're still from the hood, as bougie as you get, you're still from the hood. And so it snuck into that, he's a DJ and he's constantly, when he calls me, he's like, hey, Cheri Yase Kasi. And I was just like, that's it, it says who I am. It speaks to the authenticity of, that diamond in the rough. I like that, Bonolo, you are from Rustenburg, in this little town. When I was young, success were people from the suburbs. It was never coming out of the townships or that celebrated. So to be this girl who had the opportunity to walk into boardrooms and say, our business is called Cheri Yase Kasi, we are the hood. We see how Black culture and I think the township culture influences so much of South Africa's aesthetic, from our music to our sound to our style to our design, that I wanted to be able to say I'm part of that without being, in your face about it. So that's how our name came about. I love how everyone says it differently. My favorite are my non-Black clients, because it's so heartwarming to hear them attempt to say it and always kind of wanting to know the story behind it. But for me, it's just to share that creativity can come from anywhere, whether it's from the township or from the gutter or from the suburbs. If there's a great idea there, it can come from anywhere. And I wanted to be that person.
Amazing. And then Bonolo, on your side, in terms of Lulasclan, how do we get to Lulasclan?
Yeah, a tongue twister. So it was initially a varsity project name. It was a varsity angel varsity project name that I came up with, and as I know, it's not memorable because it's so long, but I stuck to it because I feel like when I came up with the name Lulasclan, Lula means Bonolo, but in Zulu. I love cultures. I love languages. So for me, a word that stuck out that was a direct translation of my name was Lula, and it also means easy. And then clan was just a representation of the different creative styles that I have. One minute I can go all pop, pop art. The next I can go all African. So it's representative of the different elements that make up this family, that make up this clan. Areas of design from photography to fashion. So it's not just one thing, but a multitude of things coming together as one. And that's the whole meaning around the name. It's basically different things coming together as one. So yeah, I've been asked to change it before to say Bonolo Chepape, and I was like, no, I don't have to. Like it already speaks my quirkiness or whatever. It is, it represents me, and I feel like it's okay to have not just a 3-letter name that people remember, but people get used to.
It's amazing. Just a bit of advice, because Sunshine was saying that she was tempted to using part of her name into it. I feel my internet connection isn't too unstable during this long time, but you can hear me. But interesting thing is they always say, do not name your business after yourself, because the problem you have is if you ever have to sell, when you grow and you're really big and you decide, I'm going to sell this, and somebody comes knocking on your door, and you're selling Bonolo Chepape, you can never use your name ever again.
I've been in that situation before. Giving away your identity. I think it works for fashion designers. But as soon as like you're in a space where maybe you're an agency, if you had to sell it, then you have to start from scratch. All that the value that you've already built with it, it's non-replaceable as well.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that you're giving away all of that value and your personal value as well to somebody else who might take it and then do something that doesn't represent you, and you're linked to that. But also speaking of representing yourself, and as Sunshine was saying, and Sunshine, handing off to you again on this is, you're speaking about as you grow, needing to bring people in and train them into the values that you have, and in your ways of doing business, so that that the clients you work with are going to get a seamless experience. I mean, again, how difficult and how important is it to find the right people to work with you and build the right relationships with other businesses to be able to deliver what you need to deliver?
I think my biggest challenge when I was starting was first becoming people's managers. I had worked for people my whole career, so I had never been in the position where I was the manager, who was running things. So a big lesson for me was getting into that role first and being able to look when hiring people at what we need them to do for the business versus, oh, I know Bonolo, we've had great encounters and you're hired. That was very difficult for me to go from being the person who's been given the instructions to being then an instructor. And so the first thing I did was find top management that was strong, that could help me just do that and identify the talent, because I had been in so many different industries. I've got this beautiful black book of reliable, great suppliers and freelancers, but to pull the gun on deciding who's permanent, that was extremely challenging for me. So I brought in two other voices in my business partners at the time to be able to make those decisions clearly, where it was easier for me to make calls on which clients were chasing and how to chase them. When it became kind of choosing the humans, that was one of my biggest challenges. So we did actually consult with the HR consultancy business that helped us structure, job specs, some sort of KPIs, salaries, etc. Because we had never been in that position. I had never been in that position before. So I was the girl calling old HR friends. I was the girl calling my old HR in my old offices, going, when you did this with us, why did it happen? Because that's the big part of this running business thing, is just setting your business values, your policies. Those are things I was so blind to and so naive to when I started business. And so the first 2 years were extremely challenging, learning how to teach people. It became easy, I think, once we got comfortable with those structures, because then it was kind of easy to work within those guidelines and guardrails on, if you are a project manager, these are your instructions. Beyond this, what does disciplinary look like? If there's an issue, a personal issue versus a business issue, it gave us this whole education on how to manage people. And it took that HR consultancy, it took going into incubation with one of my corporates that I'd worked for, had offered us essentially how to be a better business owner. And they taught us those foundations. I don't know if I could say I'd be able to be standing here today if I hadn't done those foundation stages. Because as much as the corporates I worked for taught me how to execute the end product, we never knew how HR at SAB works, or at SABC, or at Joe Public or some agency. We don't have that access to that information. And it's possibly, when you start business, part of the hardest information that's you're going to find is not free or available. People tell you how to write business plans and how to ask for funding, but they won't tell you how to manage humans.
Yeah.
or tell you how, to separate a personal matter from this affects my bottom line. But I also struggled with my own conscience of what did I not enjoy working for people, because I didn't want to bring that into my business. I had to consider, for example, some of my staff had children. Coming from a single parent, I was more conscious of the plight of the single mother than looking at it as a general employer. It was important for me, my mental health and kind of my employees' well-being first. But I had to find a balance between the two, because then you're not making money being a socialist and being this concerned employer. You have to find this happy place. And so they taught me that happy place. And that's the only way I became comfortable with being able to share knowledge or teach or, bring people into the business. But yeah, it took me about 18 months to kind of find the confidence to do it, where I knew I could do everything. But the reality is 24 hours in a day doesn't allow me to do everything myself. So I had to just put in the hours and go in.
And you're so right, Sunshine, because the reality is, when you're going to start, sadly enough, anyone who's looking at starting a business, the number one thing everyone will tell you is write a business plan. And you just find you're wasting lots of time with words and all of this, when in truth, reality is that, you need to be sitting with Excel spreadsheets and doing, what's my cash flow projections, and will I have enough cash to basically cope with things? When Esau's going to come after me for money, because no one knows that there's provisional tax, all these little things that happen, which no one tells you about. Not that you're
down in it. There are no kind of, when you get into business platforms that say, before you do anything, start here. I think if we had this place where you think CIPC would be that place, for example, or DTI, or whatever platform where they go, start here before you phone Sunshine, for Bonolo. Just make sure you find the people to help you with these things, because I found that was the most time consuming. We couldn't make money because we just didn't have the right tools and skills and policies in place. So you can't be profitable in your first 2 years because you're figuring all of that out. Had I known, I would have spent the first year doing that, not approaching clients, kind of fixing those things first. So I understand it. And then would I gone out and kind of chase clients, where I went chasing clients first and then had to backtrack and fill positions to maintain and sustain these clients. And that I remember feeling at some point 2 years into it, like, what am I doing? Is this a good idea? Because there's just so many moving parts all the time. And that's not even in your office. That's just making sure this Cheri Yase Kasi is a real thing. You have a vendor number at procurement. You are tax compliant. Your BE certificates are up to date. You have public liability because you do events. You have staff insurance, personal insurance. It's constantly that. And I think it takes about 18 months to find a flow on how to manage that madness, because it's always on. Now it's like an open tab. It's no longer as scary as it was when I first started this business.
Yeah, it's like physics, right? When I was in school, they taught us it always takes more energy to set something in motion than to keep it in motion.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works for a business as well. But Bonolo, on your side, I mean, also, having
Yeah.
to, it's also the principles are the same, but you also have a different dynamic as well in the fact that your product is like amazing craft that needs to be perfect. There, where if there's a challenge, it's visible to the human eye immediately. But in
Yeah.
part of that, I guess you need to have the right suppliers, but you also need the right team.
Yeah.
How did you go about that process, and what were some of the lessons that you learned?
It's Sunshine is right that it takes about 18 months, like 2 to 3 years, to actually equip yourself. I started way before, while I was still working. I was going through incubation hubs, learning the business side of creativity. It's all fun and games when you want to create a beautiful artwork or whatever. But there's some serious paperwork that needs to be attended to as well. And foundation is so key. If you don't equip yourself with the knowledge, just going out there, like going to business seminars, going to business workshops, enrolling yourself in a short-term course or whatever, to learn the basic skills of being an accountant for the first 6 months before you can, get a real accountant to do the job. You need to go through that. Like the biggest challenge for me, I was operating an e-commerce platform, and I had I hated digital. I hated social media. But I was like, the only way for my client to have access to this product side of things. And it was the best decision ever. And I've constantly had to go back and learn new ways of doing things. What is SEO? How do I optimize my website? How do I track abandoned cards or whatever? So this is also the terms that go on in a different space that I've never even set foot in. Remember, I just wanted to draw the whole day and sell drawings, but now I have to go through certain spaces, environments, as uncomfortable as it is. You're looking at the greater picture, that for this product to be a viable product, for this business to be a viable business or a viable brand, I need to go through this and I need to equip myself. And nobody's going to teach you that. And nobody's going to drag you, or you can ask questions, you can have mentors, but if you don't sit down and say, I'm going to go the extra mile and I'm going to read as many articles, then that is not going to happen for you. So those were some of the things that I went through with my business. But I kind of I strategize in terms of how I want a business that works for me as well. As I know that I get bored easily or whatever, but my production side of the business has to be stable. So I had to look for employees. I needed to find, the right people that can make the product. And once that is running, then I could focus on my creative side of things, of me being a movable object. But in that, I had to put also people in place under operations so that they can foresee while I'm not there, because a lot of the times I work between Joburg and Cape Town, because I'm not accessible, I'm not in Joburg, so I need to travel. And as a creative, if I'm going to be working on different brands and different projects, I need to be as accessible as possible. So I need somebody who's running and taking care of the operation side of the business. And yeah, so it started with family. My mom comes from an operation background. Well, she was a teacher, but she's run her own businesses. And I taught her, this is the voice of my brand. This is the quality that I expect. But it's so important to, even if you have people maybe running the production side, if you are in like a business of products, it's so important that you come back and you double check and you cross check and you do your own quality assessments, because this is a representation of you. So also being hands on and managing your time becomes a very important thing. If maybe before you didn't know how to plan your schedule, that is going to bite you in the back when you've got a big order going out, but you've got another client that you have to see, or an installation of a space. So planning, research, and learning, I think for me, it's the key things. Just understanding how your business is going to work. You are the one in control and in charge of creating this, and so you need to know the mechanics to it. I think that's all I can say in terms of how I navigated that space of learning how to be an entrepreneur.
You mentioned mechanics, but then also, and again, going back to something that you both have been speaking to, which is not really having all of the knowledge you need to be able to go out and run your business. One of the most important things that lots of people don't realize is trying to define the value of your offering. So understanding so essentially, how much do you charge? How do you make sure that you're charging the right amount for the value that you're offering to everyone, whether it's a tangible product or it's an intangible service? Sunshine, how did you navigate that? How did you figure out what was the right kind of pricing level for you to be able to charge, so that you're not too cheap to get the business and you're making enough money to survive, and also not too expensive, but being in that sweet spot?
We all go in quite cheap in the beginning. You just want to get the job, so everything is 10,000, for example, when you're starting, because you essentially trying to bait in some clients. It took for us, SAB was fantastic. They gave us a business coach. Our business coach actually set us down with someone based on the years we've worked as individuals. In the industry we've gained through working those years. They created a variable which gave us a number per resource. I really struggled with setting a rate, because I was happy when it was just me. I knew how far I could stretch 10,000, 20,000, 15,000. But I then started having to add in resources that build, for example, a retainer. And costing that. I had no clue how to do that. It took about 6 months of classes with our business manager and SNG. They helped us create, to Bonolo's point, what works for us. So because we bring in a lot of freelancers into our business, we have a freelance rate card, for example, that we would negotiate with freelancers. We've never wanted to be in a position where we forced exploited people to work within a rate we had. So we'll always present to our clients almost, junior, middle, highly experienced options in terms of the resource that they need. And we create a kind of build a block on the campaign or the project based on what you need as the client. What we've noted, where we've sent in, say, a standard rate card, if we send it out to 5 clients, 1 will respond, let's negotiate, the other 4 are scared off. When in the beginning we would call back and drop our price, what we've realized with that is that the people who want quality will pay for quality. or people who want set number of years or experience. I'll always, for example, when we have illustration projects in our office, think Bonolo, because she's delivered great work for us before within the right amount of time. We had agreed on a happy rate. So she's always someone I would consider. So when I go into clients and it's another illustration project, my benchmark would always, for example, of our last engagement on her rate, where I'd go, well, if it's the most professional of them all, this is where you start. But there are platforms like this community and some industry rates that have been set that can help kind of guide you. I just warn everyone that rate is set on your number of years in the industry, for example, or how many campaigns you've managed. I've seen a lot of young people who want to come in and it's my rate an hour is 4,000, and I'm like, wait, how did you get to that? Because I'll explain how my rate works out, and that's why I can charge what I charge. No one is teaching them. So I think everyone assumes I deserve this amount, but there's actually an art to setting a rate card. The years people put in, the hours people put in, some are awarded, international awards, global awards. That determines the rate. I think there isn't a set, if your agency is under 5 years, you guys are charging this much. If the person heading that agency has 30 years of experience, you could charge as much as an executive producer, creative director at Joe Public, because of the number of years you've put into the industry. So we set ours, we hired or got someone to help us set our rate cards. They looked through all my staff CVs. They did one-on-one interviews with them, trying to understand, from what you say you can do to what you actually do, what does this mean? And from there, they then set us a rate card for that year. And we've essentially just marked it up per industry rate every year since then. There are some clients who make us cut it down completely because they want to give us longer periods of work, which we're happy to accommodate. But a lot of the times where it's once off, we're very kind of stuck in our numbers because we know it's a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, we won't see each other again. We always try and build longer relationships with our clients. So the longer it is, it allows that flexibility in rates, or even flexibility in building you a custom team that you can afford.
Amazing. And then you have Bonolo, who's got a tangible product. I mean, how do you go about this product? Do you find it's easier than maybe a service-related product, or is it just as difficult trying to set the right rate so that you get the right value that you need to bring in?
No, for the products, it's easier because then you factor in all your costs and all your overheads and things like that, the material cost of the product. It's set, and then you look at your market. So I'm in the luxury market, so I'll know I can't go beyond this if I'm maybe selling a cotton, but if I'm selling a velvet, then yes, I'm okay to sell a cushion for 1,500. So it depends on the product. So for your hand woven work, which are labor intensive, they're expensive to make. They have to source the mohair from these, from the Karoo, and they have to dye it and they have to spin it. So it's a longer process. So those items, those luxury items, are gonna cost more. But from a service point, in terms of my textile services, it also kind of I look at okay, what is this retailer coming to me and saying, I want you to create a capsule collection and it's going to be under our name and not yours. That also is a deciding factor in terms of there's a whole like a matrix of how I calculate it. So it's a number of years. Is there royalty involved? Do you have sole license, or is it an exclusive license? Is it a commercial license? Do I still have rights for the pattern, or do you want full rights so that you can go and sell it, resell it? So all these are factors that determine the value of the service or the textile pattern that I'm giving to the client and what they're gonna use for. And transparency is so important. So normally we sit down with my clients and they tell me exactly, I'm gonna put this into a Woolworths, into a what, into a what. Already you're adding value to that piece of patterns. So if I'm not getting royalties, then there must be a flat design charge or fee. And also, like again, it all depends if you want exclusive rights. So, and it's a constant. I need to constantly educate my clients or new customers because they treat textile design as if it's graphic design. You're not coming like it's like if you wanted a logo, you come for me and then I create a logo for you and then buy, this is my logo, I'm gonna start a business. But with textile design, it's quite different. There's so many because I'm selling intellectual property. I'm selling an idea that's gonna go on. It has so many different touch points. If you're gonna put it onto a cushion and a curtain and a car and a whatnot, there's monetary value to that, and especially if it's going to attract big clients, because that's what, when I create things for clients, that's the goal, that it attracts your H&Ms, it attracts your Truers or Eggers or whoever big retailers, so that they can come to you and say, okay, we've seen this print on SAA Fashion Week, we love it. And at that point, client has total control in terms of the offering, what they want. Do they want an, did you say you wanted an exclusive design, or do you want a non-exclusive design? Yeah, so it gets a bit complicated.
And in terms of the work you've done, I mean, in terms, and Sunshine gives you time to start thinking about this as well, but in all the projects you've done, and maybe you don't have to choose one, it could be a few, one, two, or three, or whatever. But what has been the project that's really stood out, that really has made you feel most proud and most excited to be part of that? That's like kind of
Okay.
choosing who's the favorite child, isn't it? It's always difficult, but
it's always difficult. Oh, I'm gonna say the design a pattern I designed for a client of mine, Palisa Mukubung by Manso. It recently got acquired by H&M, and this print was on, on their garments nationwide, globally. I think for me, it was more of like you stepping into the right direction. Don't change your aesthetic, don't change your styles. Continue to do great work for your clients and for yourself, because the moment people see, I was at the start, you're starting out, and there's so many different aesthetics, and like you seeing commercial design, things that are easily bought, in numbers or whatever, and here you are, you using 10 colors in one design. It's a bit too much and overwhelming, and you start self-doubting, right? And thinking, I need to change the style so that my products can sell more. And when things like that, small milestones like that, or actually huge milestones like that happen as a creative, you kind of become reassured that, okay, it's okay to express yourself differently, and it's okay not to be commercial, but be a master at what you're doing and focus on that, because everything else is a noise and it's a distraction. So that's from then on, I wasn't afraid to present the craziest designs to my clients, because funny enough, those are the ones that they wanted, not the ones that a plate says, oh, I just used one color here, I didn't know that. No, I was bold about it, and I was articulate about it, that this is what you're paying for, this is what you're getting. If you're happy, I'm happy.
amazing. Sunshine, on your side, I mean, in terms of projects that you've worked on, which just sticks with you and you've been most proud of?
I think I have two. I think our proudest one is where we've always had the opportunity to co-create with another brand, use the client's kind of brief to showcase their best version. Channel O had at the time briefed us to create a photo booth for them, and we introduced them to an artist called Baba Jeko, who is an incredible illustrator. And what started as a photo booth became event collateral, eventually became their new brand repositioning look and feel. And I think they got 11 Prism Awards for all that rebranding. That project makes me so proud, because to showcase this artist from Paris on this global African platform like Channel O, those two would have never been married if we didn't have the opportunity to service Channel O. And because I stalk designers and illustrators on social media, you know, to be able to bring someone who I didn't know, Baba Jeko, to this big client. And if you look at Channel O now, you'll see this beautiful black and white illustration in a style that the rest of Africa would have never been exposed to had this not come about. So that's one of my favorite ones. And recently we just created a project with SEFTAs and Netflix, where we were allowed to create a box to celebrate the nominees for 2021. And in that box, we were able to showcase 10 South African incredible brands to, you know, SEFTA nominees. This is anyone from Sherelle de Villiers, for example, to your favorite The River characters. They were able to see people like Ntozinhle, created a custom mirror for them. We showcased Amanda DuPont's new skin products. We were able to put in a collaboration. We created a custom kind of lapel with Maxhosa and Netflix to be able to create a badge of honor for any nominees moving on. So I love that we're able to create platforms for the smaller guys through these big clients that we have, but still deliver, you know, this incredible end product for our client, and still be able to kind of give that small guy another audience through this collaboration with Netflix. To have run that project all online. We have never met the Netflix clients. All of it was done online. It was really exciting, having come out from this dry place of not working through the whole of last year. And that being one of our first projects this year that kind of reignited that fire that we have to showcase and always be able to give other South African brands or partners a platform through our client engagements.
Amazing. One of the other important things that I have to ask both of you as well is that the reality is we know that it's tough for women in business, regardless of anything that says out there, and regardless of what the paperwork says in terms of, you know, trying to support more women in business. In reality, it's very tough for women in business to be able to find the right opportunities and to be able to make it. And it's amazing to have the two of you as these shining beacons of excellence, showing how you can actually make it. But I'm sure there must have been challenges. I mean, what are some of the challenges, and how did you fight through it, and how did you survive it? And since we're still chatting, Sunshine, let's go with you first before moving.
You don't get over the challenges. You just find better ways to handle them. The challenges are constantly there. I think anyone in business, I speak for as a female-owned business, my biggest challenge is cash flow, to be able to access, you know, 500K, for example, from banks or financing platforms. That hardly happens for us. There's no one for me or that I know that where we can go and kind of get this assistance. And where you would think, if, you know, because mandate is Black business or Black female businesses first, that within the corporates, then procurement is adjusted to work within these new regulations. If I'm a Black businesswoman with a business smaller than 5 years, let's say earning less than 50 million, I can't sit on a 90-day payment term like Joe Public, who bill in 30 million a month, and I can only bill that in a year. So there's that unrealistic expectation of, yes, we want to support you as these Black businesses, but then it's a whole new fight with procurement. I think that's one of the most disheartening consistent challenges that you'll face going into business, whether male or female. I think it is a bigger challenge for Black female because financing in general has always been prejudiced against us, from home loans to car loans to, you know, women were never supposed to do these things. But constitutions and old policies were never changed to accommodate the fact that we are now on top of the leaderboard, the most educated, the most in business, kind of the ones who want to achieve more, but there are no foundations or tools or human beings who are saying, I'm here for that, and this is how I can assist women in business. That I find is my biggest challenge. I think what makes me feel like I want to give up most of the time is constantly having to have that fight where you think, we understand that we don't have cash flow. Cool, we'll make sure you pay it on time. Things will happen, you know, and then it gets to that point and it's like, we're here again, you know, we thought we solved this. And I find that that's a recurring challenge that I face of all my challenges in business, just having access to cash flow and people believing through the work that we've done over the few years in saying, I see something here and there's value in putting investment into this without wanting a piece of my business. Where there are those opportunities, they want to take a piece of the little that we're building. And I am not at a point where I would want to sell any parts of my business because there's still it's still a work in progress in terms of this dream we're trying to build. So it's having to compromise yourself. You know, do you give away 30% to get 3 million up front, or do you constantly have these fights with procurement, or say with brand teams, or with, you know, clients that you work with on, do you guys understand I can be the best I can be if you can accommodate me with just this element? Because that becomes your stress. How do I pay salaries if I'm not paid on time? How do I buy the latest computer technology or reporting tools or upgrade machines? It becomes so hard to kind of forecast 2 years. It's taught us to almost forecast 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, because it's constantly changing. You know, it takes one late payment to mess up 6 months of what you thought you had planned to the last T and the last I. It takes that one delay in payment and everything goes to the dog.
I agree. Cash flow can ruin a business, can't it? So if anyone does actually see this, please pay people on time, because the reality is you also have all of the delay tactic that comes. But Nola, how about you? What are some of the challenges that you've faced out there?
I think, of course, as any young business or business is cash flow, but I think for me, how I've navigated it is I've put around good relationships with clients, or just like Nando's is a great supporter. So whenever there's a big order coming through that I've just landed, and I need some capital injection because I don't have 500K readily available to finance the whole production. You know, it has created an avenue for me to go out there and say, listen, there's an opportunity. This is how it can benefit South African design, and they're always willing to listen. So yes, there are always financial obstacles, but you need to kind of go out there and build relationships that are really are going to back you up when you need their help. And for me as well, it's more like navigating an untapped space as a black young female, you know, as interior designer, or the interior space. You know, 6 years ago, there wasn't a lot of black designers or black interior designers creating this kind of design. So it becomes like I constantly have to teach or kind of validate, or let me say, use the word, maybe explain why my work is of value, even though I'm sitting with, here's my portfolio, you can see this is what happened, these are all the awards received, especially to maybe some people of other races or colors or white people. So I need to constantly justify why I'm supposed to get that job, or why I'm charging a certain way. And it becomes quite a personal thing, because it takes me back to agency life, where you be experienced, but the girl next to you, just because of the color of their skin, you might even be more experienced than them, but your salaries are not the same. So the constant justifying why you're even valid, or why you're charging a certain way. Why? It's because I'm going to put in a lot of hours, and I'm going to give you something that I'm going to make sure that you see a return in. So I think those are like one of the spaces that you easily question, and you don't look 60. So how can you come here and say you're charging me 20K, you know, for a pattern, you know? But I've got experience, and I'm working hard to craft this talent, that is why. So as soon as people can just respect people's livelihoods as well, people's talent or skills or craft or whatever profession that they're in, without question. Well, you can question within reason, but like don't take it personal. I think then we'll start to see more people operating in these spaces where they don't feel constantly attacked. So yeah.
I think, Bonolo, sorry, Preetesh, to what you were
No, go for
saying,
it.
uh, it's finding this balance, because you can have the relationships, right? I mean, it's incredible that Nando's can help you with that, but we will have those clients who will happily understand, and we are transparent from the beginning always. I think because we've never had 500K sitting around, it's one of the first things we put on the table, that we can absolutely do this job if you meet us at this point.
Yeah.
Where I find it gets tricky with clients is when there isn't that understanding of, these hours, or for me to go into production to print the carpet, I actually have to pay 50K upfront. And it's that becomes tricky, because you pulling from your overheads and your salaries, for example, to try and cover or start this production line, because the deadline doesn't move on your side, but the expectation is there. And I find that that's been the difficult question, where you're like, oh, if we're going to set this deadline, I have these expectations as well. And that level of respect, of understanding, in order for everyone to achieve what needs to be achieved here, we all have to do our part. I set processing agency CEs as a brand manager or assistant brand manager. So I had the insight of knowing, for example, what my competitors now were charging us as a brand at the time. I literally, one of my first CEs, I verbatimed one of those agency CEs, and I sent it to a client, and they fell over, and I was like, no, actually, this is based on benchmark industry, comparing it to this agency. We are literally on par. He's got 10 years, I've got 10 years. He's got 4 staff members, I've got 4. And we had to leave that client because there was a level of non-respect. They refused to give us that acknowledgement and that credit that we know what we're doing, we've been there. And to your point, it always makes you feel like, is it because I'm Black? Because I've seen it, like I'm saying, with my white agency partners whose CEs I was processing at the time. And I think it takes the inner strength to not personalize it and go, this attack is because I'm Black. But there are times where it's underlying. And that's one of also the most difficult challenges, is not having your spirit broken by the fact that you can sense in a situation, this is beyond my capabilities, this is beyond my deliverables or past experience, but this is another type of attack. And we face, or I find as a Black woman, I face a lot of that from white men, Black men, and Black women as well. So it's not just white clients. Absolutely, it's actually across the board. And you would think there'd be empathy from someone who looks like you, or can contextualize how difficult this process could be for you, because of we've never had that access or that information given to us. So yeah, but we do it because we hope things will change. For me, every day I wake up and I'm like, it's gonna get better. It could be the worst day yesterday, but tomorrow is gonna get much better than it was. And I hope anyone sitting in corporates or who pay us as clients, and it gets better, just acknowledge what we're trying to do, and let's all work together.
I agree, and this needs another hour. We are way over time. I'm sure somebody's gonna shoot me this. We're so over time, but I have to say this before we end, because we do have to. Is that you're both so absolutely right. I think one of the big challenges we have is that if the credentials are here and you're doing exactly the same job, whether it's in a design space, eventing space, or corporate space, pay the person the same. Don't go and now go, hey, let's now look at this person. And you're right. And I think sometimes it is possibly based on a background or race basis or whatever it goes, we can get a discount version just purely because we just don't believe that we can pay this person as much. And I've seen it throughout my career, and I think everyone has seen it. And let's save that for our next chat. I think that's going to be our next chat, because the next meeting, I know my next meeting has already started, so I'll message them right now. But Bonolo and Sunshine, we needed another hour. Thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing. I mean, we, at the Loeries, we appreciate the both of you for your support, for the amazing work that you're putting out there as well, and for everything that you're doing. So keep fighting the good fight.
Thank
Appreciate your time,
you.
and hopefully I have a chance to chat to you both separately. I'd love to come through and visit the both of you. We all need a coffee at some point. Just sit down and meet when it's safe.
At
So
some point.
Yes,
Load-shedding.
I just load shedded. When
Good
there's no
luck.
load shedding.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, thanks,
Bye.
thanks, Bonolo. And thanks to everyone who stuck around for the last bit. And if you're still on Facebook, just remember you can watch this again. So keep watching it, enjoying it. And thank you to the both of you. Really appreciate your time. All the best. Enjoy the rest of the week. Take care. Cheers. Bye.